Hi, Jamie Austin here. Welcome to Real Estate of Mind. It's been a while. We're so glad to have you on the show. And today's guest speaker is Michael Abram. He's actually sort of a guest we've had several times before, but his information is so good, and we always want to stay on top of anything pertinent with real estate. And he's with Cross Country Mortgage, and he's one of our guests today. And we're just happy to have you, Michael. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jamie. Appreciate it.
You bet. So, obviously, I wanted to start off 2024. It's been a crazy market for the last couple of years. Interest rates have risen. It's been sort of frustrating for a lot of buyers out there, right? They're thinking there is no way that I will ever be part of probably the class of owning a home. It seems like the dream has gotten farther away for a lot of people. However, I want to normalize that. The dream is still alive and well. And because of Michael, he's going to share actually some new programs that have just come out for the state of California that are really exciting and that give people an opportunity to get a home and in a way that you might not have thought about. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cal HFA is a wonderful state-backed program, California-based, and they have a program that was really popular last year called the Dream for All program.
Right, I remembered it, and it was gone like in...
Yeah, it was like 4 days.
4 days,
We had all this prep work done, and then they ran out of $200 million in 4 days.
That is unbelievable.
Right, and so they had to figure out how to rework this program, bring it back the next year, get more funds from the state.
Yep.
They just did that.
Awesome.
And now we're back. We've got revised guidelines. They're making it harder for people to qualify for it, which is good.
Yeah.
Because you want more families to be able to take advantage of this program.
Right.
And right now they're estimating about 1,700 to 2,000 families being able to take advantage of this program in California. And why it's so important is because they have $200 million again to give families for down payment assistance.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So walk me through a little bit about like what that would look like. What would you have to do to qualify or to be part of that lottery? Because again, it's limited funds. The States has 200 million. But last year when they got rid of it in 4 days, it was almost like if you were breathing and you had a lender who was on it, they were already putting you into the system. So the people that just heard about it missed out.
Exactly.
It was too late.
Yes. Yeah. So some of the key guideline changes, you touched on one of them. There's a lottery now.
Okay.
So it's not a given that you're going to get the money.
Okay.
Right? You have to first get pre-approved for the loan.
Okay.
And that's got to be through a lender that is Cal HFA approved and a lender who's Cal HFA approved. So for example, my company is approved and I am approved.
Awesome.
So that's the first step. Secondly, get you qualified and I'll issue you a pre-approval letter on the Cal HFA template.
Okay.
You need to hold on to that as the consumer and wait for the portal to open in early April.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's awesome. So because of the lottery, what it's going to do is it's going to allow people to have to do some legwork up front. And then they're going to see. It's not just like you said, it's not like if you were breathing and you had a great lender who goes, I know this is coming down the pike and we better jump on it. And which is what they did.
Right.
And it was like, I remembered being in my office, like speaking with another lender. I won't mention their name, but I work with a lot of great lenders, but Michael is stellar for sure. And she said, we're all excited. This is going to hit the market. And the next week it was gone.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh
wild.
my God, like just when we as brokers and realtors got the news to our clients, it was too late.
Yeah, too late.
All
They
right.
realized that people were taking advantage of it by being in contract already and segueing into that program.
That's right.
And so that was where they had to do their due diligence, figure out how to revamp this program, introduce the lottery, and also introduce first generational buyers.
And what is, tell me what
that's a new concept.
Okay, tell me what a first generational buyer is. Clarify.
That is the first person in your family, essentially, to own a home. So they are looking to see, do your parents own a home? If they do, you're not eligible.
Wow.
By default. But they want you to be the first person in your family to be able to have that American dream of buying a home.
Oh, that's
Makes
amazing.
sense, right? To limit it by making a lottery, first generational. They want this money to last and give it to the people who really, really need it and deserve it.
Oh, that's amazing. So that's one program. The other thing that I've heard about in, at least when I've been dealing with my buyers out there, is they think, oh my God, the interest rates have been over 7. They've kind of ticked down to around 6, and now they're back up a little bit over 7. We are looking to have this year, 2024, the Fed sort of kept the rate steady right now because inflation sort of ticked up just a smidge, but just enough to where, the federal government didn't want to just cut interest rates again and potentially have another inflation rise. So point being there, what are you and in the lending community kind of feeling about interest rate, not hikes, but decreases throughout 2024? What are you guys expecting?
Yeah, so we are expecting sometime in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, there's going to be tremendous pressure to lower the rates. Okay. So right now, like you said, they're kind of being bullish and standoffish about lowering the rates. They're really, really concerned about inflation increasing and having a problem again with home values. So they're holding off. But at some point, they're going to have to take their foot off the pedal. Right? They've got to lower rates. They've got to make money more affordable for people. And that is going to happen towards the tail end of this year. Okay. Maybe into the low 6s is kind of where it looks like it might be now. And then tailing into the 5s as we head into the following year. That's
sort of a game changer for a lot of people out there.
Right.
Now, the other thing, because I know that I've had clients say, okay, well, right now, it's March in 2024, right? And so there's not as much competition, which we normally expect to kind of pick up like spring and summer, right? Which is historically real estate's best time of year, right?
Exactly.
So let's say I'm a hypothetical buyer and I get in, but I get in at a 7.1. Can I refinance in November, December, when the interest rates might be lower? Is that too soon to refinance, or is that a possibility that we can also let our clients know about?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point of all this, is we understand that the rates are higher and banks are rolling out programs and incentives to help buyers because we know that rates will drop. We want them to take advantage of that drop because it's going to be a more limited time period when those rates drop. They're going to control that. So we want those people to take advantage of the rate drop and save money by lowering their interest rates as well as their monthly payments.
That's amazing.
Yeah. In fact, Cross Country has a program called Buy Now, Refinance Later. So if you use us for the purchase, after we're done, a certificate generates in our system. I give you that certificate and I hold on to it as well for your file. And then when the rates drop, you just have to present that back to me. And that's going to give you the ability to lower out-of-pocket costs. Up to $1,500 can be waived for refinance fees.
Wow,
because it's just going to depend when someone buys. Right. So we don't want them to be feeling like they're being gouged on fees between a purchase and the refinance because we don't know when exactly rates will drop. So whatever we can do to help as a thank you for working with us on the purchase, let's help you lower your costs on that subsequent refi.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's another reason why I love kind of working with you, because I send not only a lot of first-time buyers, but even clients of mine that have bought and sold 2 and 3 and 4 properties, and then they're refinancing know, later. The one thing too that they're at least I've experienced just on the front of being a broker is that my clients are like, oh, well, what if I buy now and I buy at the height and then we get a huge recession? So how are you kind of bracing your clientele for if that happens? I still think real estate undoubtedly is still one of the safest investments that you can ever possibly make. It's slow and steady wins the race, right? And
exactly.
And then also it's like date the rate, marry the house. I've heard
exactly.
that more in the past
I love
year.
that. I love that.
Date the rate, marry the house.
Yeah, very cliche.
Yeah, but that's really true. You got to say a couple of things in perspective, just understand that if this is your first purchase, your first purchase is never your be all end all home.
Right.
You want it to check off as many boxes as possible, but chances are it's not going to be, the one you're going to live in forever. Might be 3 to 5 years, even though statistically they say it's now like a 7 to 11 year time frame that people will stay in a home.
Right.
But you know what? Maybe not. Maybe the family grows, maybe you have a job change, whatever. So with that, how are you prefacing the recession that might be coming? How do you explain that? Yeah,
so from the recessionary standpoint, it affects all sorts of other parts of the economy in a bad way, right?
Right.
Not the housing market, because the recession is basically defining that they have to make things cheaper. Money has to become cheaper. So if money becomes cheaper, that leads to the drop in interest rates. So as a result, you've got a spur on our side of the industry with more people refinancing, taking advantage, whether it's lowering it on a rate and term refinance, taking advantage of pulling money out on a cash out. And then on top of that, you have a surge of buyers who are coming back into the market, trying to capitalize on those purchases with the lower rates at that time. So we just don't experience what the rest of the economy may be feeling with a recession when you hear it. It's not as negative for us as other people may, interpret it as.
Because we sort of had a light recession 21, 22.
Yes.
And that's when the rates went down and everybody flocked and was buying homes. We were still kind of around 4, mid 4 to 5. And people were like, I'm going to get in now, And the thing I find very interesting about this market as opposed to what it was in 2008 and, 6, 7, and 8 is that the buyers out there are now really well qualified. They've been saving, and if they've gotten beaten out for offers or for whatever, they've been steadily saving their money, getting job situations. So the buyer today is not the same as it was.
Yeah, they're more well-versed at everything from the lending aspect to the real estate side. They're doing a lot more legwork, a lot more due diligence, checking out programs, understanding the concepts. So it's really intriguing for me to see from the beginning of my career to now, the difference in buyer understanding and education about buying a home than, in the beginning when I first started. It was very much of I don't know anything about it.
Right.
Now, a lot of people already understand some of the lingo that we talk about. They just have a better understanding, which is good. It just makes it so we can cut right to the point, get them qualified, and talk about any questions they have that they may not understand when they see like a little more of the details to their qualification.
And this kind of also brings to the point, at least about being a broker on my end, is that the buyer is a lot more sophisticated, definitely. And chances are they're already starting their search online, right? There's so much out there. The portals out there to look at homes are like, they're very plentiful. And then when I get a client, it's like, it used to be like it would be for me finding the home necessarily because they didn't have as much access, but now they have plenty of access.
Right.
And so really my job really becomes, the skill set is wading through the competition and getting my offer accepted, which is a skill set unto itself for sure, which is why I don't think, even with everybody being scared, our real estate agent's going to be away, on the buy and buy gods, right? No. The reason why is because there is still a skill set that we have that is needed in this industry. And I don't even care if you think you're buying a property, they now have these situations where you can click a button and place an offer without a real estate agent. And I will tell you, even my clients that I've gotten homes, it has still taken me to call the listing agent, contact them directly, find out what the seller needs to nuance the offer. And in addition to the nuance, it takes a lender partner to go, how can we work this together? Because if you have 20 offers on the table, chances are not going to look as seriously at an offer that just clicked a button and submitted a cookie cutter, whatever contract, as opposed to a real estate agent who took the time to get to know the seller, find out what the seller needed, find out what we needed. And then also where the broker said, hey, by the way, I've got this fantastic lender I'm working with, and they're so far in the underwriting process that we can close in 14 days.
Right. That's
now,
a
that
big
makes
one.
a huge difference because a lot of people are like, well, I've got a pre-qualification. I'm good to go, right? And I'm like, no, they've checked you have a pulse. They probably checked your credit score, but they have not done the due diligence to check your tax returns and to see what you want to do, what the game plan is. And by the time they get to you, it is a lot of work up front. But the beauty of it is by the time it's done, yours and my clients are already in underwriting, which is a massive difference.
Yes, we really want to give you as much competitive advantage out there because there is still limited inventory. So we refer to that process as fast track. So it kind of makes sense. We're putting you on the fast track to approval, right?
Right.
I want to give you the ability to close faster than 30 days. Anywhere from 12 to 15 days will work. right? I want you to write offers with no loan contingency because I want you to know the loan's already approved and underwritten and there's no surprises. I want your buyer to have confidence that the person who did the qualification did it correctly also, because I'm sure you can attest to having worked with deals in the past, whether as a buyer's agent or a listing agent, where the loan was qualified wrong.
That's right.
Something was missed. And now all of a sudden everybody's scrambling.
And you're 17 days in and they say, sorry, we can't do the loan.
Right. We missed that they had a foreclosure. We missed that they had a bankruptcy.
We missed that there's litigation on the HOA.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoops,
we didn't know there was child support and alimony, all these little things where like something may not have been asked and looked at closely, but those little things are big deals that can blow a deal up.
Absolutely. And this is why sometimes I say to my clients, your lender is almost like your priest.
Tell us everything.
Tell us everything.
In confidence.
Don't miss everything.
I won't share.
That's right. And I said, and by the way, he doesn't come back to me and tell me everything that you've said, whether it's your alimony, your child support, this lien on this, or you got, 15 credit cards, that you're doing. I said, that's the Michael question. I just need to know the numbers so that when we're out there searching, we maximize the amount of time and effort that we're spending looking and focusing on properties that make sense, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, it's all confidential on our end, and you'll get the information that's critical for you to know when making an offer.
Yep. That's great. So did we talk about buy downs yet?
We did not.
Okay. I want to bring that up because the other thing that we found is that a lot of buyers who get so discouraged about the interest rate, sometimes they're staying out of the searching process because they're like, well, if I can do the math and I can go on and find pretty much any Tom, Dick and Harry, mortgage calculator and figure out at 7.1, there's no way I can swing that. So what I want to know, and I'll let Michael explain too, is that when you are in escrow, and let's say the interest rate is like right at 7 or whatever, after you do inspections and you decide that you can ask the seller for a credit, because now in this market, sometimes sellers are just offering the credit without it being tied to anything that came out of a physical inspection report. And what that is the seller may decide to give a credit to a rate buy down. So I will let Michael explain what a rate buy down is, but sometimes that has made the difference as to whether a client could stay in the deal or not. Yeah,
I can attest that I've done many deals over the last 2 years with this temporary concept because buyers just can't afford in California at a 7% rate or higher on a jumbo loan or $1 million loan. That could be $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, right? So that's just, they don't want to be house poor. So how do we meet them in the middle? That's where we brought the temporary buy down concept, and it can be applied for 1, 2, or 3 years. So let's just use that example of 7%. And let's say you're doing a 2-year buy down. That means your first year interest rate on a 30-year fix will start at 5%, not 7%.
That's huge.
Huge, right? 6% the second year. And then it goes back to the original rate of 7% for the third year and beyond. The thought is you're temporarily lowering your payment and interest rate for 1 to 2 years. We're banking on that recession, right? So this temporarily relieves them of the payments by giving them the lower rate in the payment that makes more sense for them in the moment. And then when those rates drop, we strike. And then we refinance and put you into that long term.
While you're still in the 1 to 2 year window.
Right. Yeah. And this is another cool thing about the buy down concept that not a lot of people know. So this goes into a special account with the bank, and it's simply just pulling money every month for the cost of what that buy down was. But let's say you have money left over in that account when you go to refinance. Well, who does that money belong to? It's not the bank, right?
Right.
It's technically yours as the buyer. But you can't just walk away with physical dollars in your pocket. Banking doesn't allow that. So we have to use it. So now think of it as extra money sitting in your pocket to use to buy the interest rate lower. Cover closing costs. So we can find ways to utilize that money that was still left over in that account from your purchase.
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew that the money stays in a special account.
Yes.
That's great.
It's huge, right?
Yeah.
If you think about someone having $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 left, depending on what they got in the original purchase.
That would cover closing costs.
Easily, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you can use that to buy the rate down further than where the market is. So if the rates drop to say 5.5 and they've got enough money there and we do the math, maybe we take them down to 5%. And there was a cost there, but that money from that account is covering the cost.
And is it an interest-bearing account?
No.
Okay, so no. All right.
No
so
interest bearing.
No interest bearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
no. It's kind of like an impound account where it's non-interest bearing. Yeah, it just sits with the
Just
bank.
sits there, but that's good to know that it's there.
Yeah, but we got to use it. We got to make it go away on the refi.
And I think that's some misconception that buyers have, is that sometimes they think, like, especially like when we do inspections or whatever, and then they're like, can you negotiate me like a $20,000 credit and then I can redo my kitchen? No, doesn't work that way. Anytime you get a credit, there is no cash exchange. What it is at the close of escrow, the escrow officer debits and credits, whatever. So that will look as a credit to you, which means that either you bring in less money at the close of escrow, or you apply it to closing costs, or you apply it to buy down the rate, or whatever you'd want to do.
Yeah, exactly. We get creative, right? We'll find a way to use the money no matter what.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that for the show is partly the biggest ticket item, really, is to understand that there are definitely creative solutions out there. So you don't have to be so, depressed. And I still have, that kind of wrapping your head around, we were in such a bullish market for so long. But if you look historically at the last 50 years, and you really look at it, we're in such a great market, and still one of the best markets we've ever had.
Yeah, talk to people who had rates in the 80s that were like 15, 20%, right? And they were being told, that's a great rate.
That's a great rate.
You should take that. So when you put it historically like that, yes, these rates are higher, but that's only because COVID threw a curveball that nobody really realized where the rates should be.
That's right.
This is kind of where it was supposed to be going before COVID.
Absolutely. In fact,
that's what people don't remember.
That's right. So we're now year 4 into after pandemic was over couple years ago, but it took the market a little bit to readjust. And you're right. Actually, even before 2020, I remember in 2017, like the owner of, my company, Keller Williams, Gary Keller, was saying, listen, guys, we can't stay at 3%. This doesn't make sense. Like, this just, mathematically doesn't work for the long haul. Take advantage of it while you can, for sure.
Right.
But he said, we're expecting rates to go up to around 5. That would be sort of normal. Yeah. And it didn't. It was like 3.74, back to 3.5, back to 3.2, back to 2.6 in some cases.
Right.
And it was amazing because you're right. That was the trajectory. And then it was like 2020 hit and
nobody knew what to make of it. Nobody knew what to make of it.
Nobody knew.
Right. And then, talk about lack of inventory. That's what threw the values off. Everybody wanted more space because nobody was going anywhere. You had a listing, sight unseen. You had 30 offers on a property. I mean, it was crazy, right? So all of this is a correction from COVID still.
Absolutely. And I remembered I had a set of clients who wanted desperately to live in South Pasadena, and they just couldn't make it work because they were commuting. And they were just like, oh, that's our dream place, but there's no way. So when COVID hit and they found out that they could both work from home a little bit of time, we hit that market, which was so hot. And we lost out on 7 offers because the first time it was just, $100,000 over asking sight unseen. Then it was 200. Then it was 300. The last house they lost out on was $600,000 over asking sight unseen. No repairs, no nothing, no contingencies, nada.
That's wild.
Yeah. So then we had to get creative, and we found 1 or 2 homes that had been sitting on the market because they were way overpriced to begin with. And we offered the seller a price that we thought was really fair, and they actually took it that way. But my God, it was the same story over and over. Everybody's moving. Everybody wants space. Everybody needs this. And it just created a frenzy like I'd never seen. I think 2021 was probably one of the craziest years I'd ever had. Like, it was insane. Just
absolutely
insane in the membrane.
Well, that also shows why it's so important to work with a good realtor, right? Because you're sitting here talking about creative lending, but what about the creative realtor? Right? That's trying to find the product for their clients, because yes, I have all the products in the math, but it doesn't go anywhere if they don't find a home. So what is their realtor doing for them to help find a home, secure a home, off market? Do they see something that's been sitting longer on the market, and figuring out, again, what does that seller need and want to strike that deal and get it done? And that's what you did.
That's what I did. And that's what it takes. It takes being creative on both ends, for sure. And I remember my clients were like, there wouldn't have been any way we would have gotten this house without you, because the seller of that particular property, of that story I was telling you about, actually had moved back to China. And they were like, I don't really care. We'll rent it out. It's fine, whatever. And because I wrote a compelling letter and talked with the listing agent who was frustrated with her sellers. And I said, what do you think we can do to work together to get them to say, yes, that's all I need. And I will work with my buyers on that end to try to see what we can put together. And so we finally made it work. But it was like everybody was involved.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. But you're exactly right. And even in today's market, it still takes that kind of creativity, because we are still nationwide in a historic shortage of inventory.
Right.
We're about a 5-year shortage. We're behind. COVID interrupted building supplies, right? And
Right.
so developers and builders quit building.
And now it's too expensive.
That's exactly right.
The materials are too expensive.
That's exactly
right. So it's still playing into the shortage of the inventory. So you're right. It's about a 5-year play here for Toll Brothers, KB Homes, all these
guys.
big builders out there kind of need the cost of their materials to come down to be able to continue into the expansion of more product out there for people to buy. So it's going to be limited for a little bit of time here.
Yep. So we just got to kind of, again, pull up our bootstraps, right?
Yeah, get creative.
Get creative.
Yeah, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable and getting aggressive.
I love that.
It's a cliche saying, but it is, because even as a lender, we can't assume that just going in saying 30 days with a loan contingency is going to get it done.
That's right.
No, I got to go 12, 13 days to close. No loan, sometimes no appraisal as well. And we just got to crank that loan through, because that's what the sellers want. They want to get their dollar. They want to go fast. They don't want problems. That's why we've kind of come out with these kinds of programs to kind of jumpstart the process and really try to punch those home. So you're not looking for 3, 4, 6 months with somebody, right? Maybe a month, but not as long as it traditionally could be.
That's right. And you brought up something that was really interesting, because a lot of buyers out there that I've known, they think, oh my God, how could you put an offer together and go with no loan contingency and no appraisal contingency? And so there's a little trick to that. And Michael and I have done this several times with clients. And I'm like, we have a physical inspection contingency of 10 days. And as long as the buyer's willing to pay for a rush on the appraisal, we can get that appraisal ordered the day we open escrow. They can get to the house, and then they can do their appraisal, and then we can get it back within that 10 days.
Right.
So I protect you in the sense that we've got 10 days to get out of the deal with all your full deposit back, and Michael will have the numbers. He already knew that the loan was going to be approved. The loan is fine. That's not what we're worried about. We want to make sure the property appraises, because if there's a negotiating part about the appraisul, which appraisals haven't really come back low. Let's just be real. Appraisals, if anything, they've come in at value or a little bit over. Mostly at value in this market right now is what I'm seeing. But so then within that 10 days, we do our inspections. We make sure that there's nothing physically about the home that you wouldn't want to buy or wanted to get out of the deal. And then Michael can say the appraisal came back and we're golden.
Exactly right.
So then we are golden, and we've done everything we need to know within that 10 days. And then we can negotiate separately for the request for repairs or anything that comes up like that. Separately. But that's a brilliant way, because it doesn't leave your buyer on the hook, because normally if you're not with a savvy agent, you wouldn't even know to do that.
Right. And then you can't just bow out because it didn't appraise, because guess what? You had no appraisal contingency.
That's
so
right.
You can't use that as your excuse to pull out of the deal.
That's right.
So you really do have to be thinking 3 steps ahead of where the other agent is when you're structuring your offer. It's just creative from your realtor. You got to have a great realtor in your corner.
Yep, absolutely. And also, one of the things that I feel very confident about doing, with you is like, to make a listing agent on that side feel confident about the loan and what I can do. Sometimes I know how to sell it on my end, but sometimes it's great if I say, hey, listing agent, call the lender.
Yeah.
He can tell you how solid this buyer is, so that it doesn't just sound like it's me going, my clients are great, which everybody says their client is great. But it's that double team and that extra effort that just kind of solidifies it.
Right.
So I can tell you with 20 offers, because I'm the listing agent a lot of times, and I look at that and I go, I want somebody that's going to be communicative, that bothered to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Like I know some agents who've submitted offers to me and they haven't even filled out the complete offer. One, they've done it like in 25 PDFs, so it makes it a pain in the butt for me to like look through the offer to find.
I can imagine.
To find the points, right? The juice, the meat of the offer. And then, if all things are equal and you've got a buyer that has gone through your process, fast track, and can close in 14 days, but let's say they're putting 10% down and not 20% down, guess what? I'm not going to throw that 10% out. Because that 20% down may be great and they have their proof of funds and that may look amazing. But if somebody's fast-tracked and they can do 10%, but they can close in 14 days and the other people are needing 30 or 45, guess what?
Terms are better.
I might recommend to my seller to take the 10% down. So it's not always the amount down.
Right.
Is my point.
Yeah. And, to go back to that one concept of just calling the other agent, it doesn't take much to tell when you're talking to someone on the phone. You can tell a lot about someone from their confidence and the way they talk to you and respond to you, right?
Yeah.
And I can say this also as a lender when I'm cross-qualifying and I happen to talk to other lenders. You get a sense of insecurity or a little bit of unsureness of the file. You can tell that when talking to someone over the phone. So it goes a long way when you talk to a lender, they pick up the phone, then they ask you questions about that client's offer and you're just firing back confident responses back. It really can make the other agent feel assured that this is a good offer and that they're comfortable with the lender and that it's someone they want to work with, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the other thing is they have to still work with us too a bit.
Right.
And so do they want to have a huge headache of dealing with a lender that doesn't pick up the phone, that only will text you, that he's not very nice on the phone or doesn't respond at all, right? This is half of your battle too, is understanding who is the team that's actually coming in to close this deal. Because we're all here for the same purpose.
That's right.
But they have that control of who do they want to be a part of that with them.
Right. That's amazing. Let me just make sure we haven't, I love the first generational. That was really interesting. What are their assistance programs? Is there anything else other than
Yeah. So, okay, that's just one part of the Cal HFA. Cal HFA also has other programs where they can give up to 3% assistance towards closing costs as well. They can actually go over 100% financing. Wow. They can go up to 105. So when you think about it, just let's say you don't qualify in the lottery, I'm still looking to qualify people for the other programs as well through Cal HFA. So maybe that works as a backup. Okay. And then the other program that I absolutely love, and not a lot of people know about this, and it's really more for Los Angeles County only. It's called LAHD. Los Angeles Housing Department. Okay. They have a unique program that can give you up to $161,000 to apply towards down payment. Wow. So put that in perspective, the Cal HFA program is only up to $150,000. Okay. And they have all those extra layers to it. Like you got to be first generational. You got to get it in the lottery. And what we saw today was the alert that you got to be in contract within 90 days of, getting the voucher. So all of this creates a little bit of stress to get into contract pretty quickly. Yeah. With this program, you don't have to be first generational. You do have to be a first-time home buyer because they do want buyers to be, buying their first home and not have this experience. But they also give the opportunity for analyzing household income to see how that plays into it. And they let us use our rates on our programs for conventional financing. So we're able to get lower loan amounts because we're giving them more money for the assistance. And that means their overall payments are lower. So it's amazing. A great way to kind of look at both programs side by side because it's not a given you'll get that Cal HFA voucher. Right. So are there other programs? Yes. And you can't just go get this program. You have to pass exams and get certified. So there are lenders in my own company that cannot offer this product because they haven't done it. Wow. They haven't done the trainings and everything, whereas I can. So it's a great conversation piece to have with buyers to understand, look, this one may or may not work, but there's other options. Right. Let's take a look at this one too. Yeah. So yes, they have opened it up. This one is not in danger of running out of funds. It's more securely backed. Okay. So I've seen them having two programs here. They have one called MIPA and LIPA. So one's for moderate income, one's for lower income. Would make sense. The lower income is going to be able to get more money for assistance.
Okay.
Moderate income, a little bit less, but still sizable, anywhere from 90 to 115,000.
That's nothing to snuff
That's
at.
a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
You know,
that's
for certain
10%
areas,
down on $1 million house.
right?
Like,
and you can bring money of your own. You can still have a down payment.
yeah,
right.
Yeah. This is just assistance in addition to.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
I just qualified
amazing.
someone that had $100,000 available for a purchase. And so we're looking at that program going, look, I can take you up to say 700, but if we're utilizing this plus your down payment, now you're up to 950.
That
So
range going
what
from
a huge
700,000 to 950. And I know it sounds crazy because I know some of you are listening to this program who are outside the state of California. So I understand it's not always apples to oranges. But believe me, like in our world, it would be sort of like if you were maybe in the Midwest, it would be the difference of buying a $200,000 home and a $450,000 home. That range of what that product could, like what you could get and what could be offered is huge.
Right.
And you just qualified a client that my business partner, Jill Levine, and I are working with. On this very same, they're first-time home buyers, but you know they are looking at all the programs and even a professor assistance program, and so we're just kind of throwing anything and everything. However, they've done their due diligence. You've got the file up. We're underwritten, so like if we found something tomorrow, we could move on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just getting better and better, and even more information, and the more information and the more that they kind of have and what programs that they can look, they've actually got choices of even loan programs that they can use.
Right. And you know, they've actually opened this up to consumers getting a little more savvy. Like we talked about at the beginning, right? Buyers know more than we give them credit for these days. Freddie Mac has a great program called DPA 1. So anyone can Google that, look it up, and takes to the Freddie Mac website where you can then register, log in, punch in some information about your scenario, and it will tell you every assistance program in the state of California. Not just California, but anywhere in the country.
Okay,
so you can specify.
Can you say that again?
Yes.
So where would like a layman buyer that is just starting out, where would they go again to get that?
So Google DPA, dog, person, apple, then 1, O-N-E, and Freddie Mac. You'll find that on Google, and then it'll take you to the website where you can then register, follow the prompt, and then you can enter the information for what you're looking for. And it will tell you what's available based on the criteria you have punched in.
That is amazing.
It's pretty amazing that they finally came out with that. And that came out in the last 6 months. I use it a lot. In fact, it's just a great way to just familiarize yourself with everything from special programs in, say, Garden Grove, California, to Santa Ana, to Oakland and San Francisco, to Elk Grove, San Pablo. I mean, all these cities have unique programs and you don't even know about it.
Wow.
And they have sizable amounts of funds available within those cities to help buyers.
Now, is that, you said they could even potentially go outside the state of California?
Yes, this is, I mean, because Freddie Mac is the entity, it's their huge entity, right? It's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Yeah.
So they made this option available for any state. You can look up all 50 states on this website to see what's available. I'm just looking in California, right? But that's the great part about this is they found a way to kind of make this a more uniform way of searching for programs that can help buyers. Because of where the rates are, they want people to become familiar with how can we get creative and lower your payments.
So I think like an overall arching theme is like anybody out there looking for a home, there are solutions.
Yeah.
You got to get creative. You got to get with a lender that knows what they're doing, knows these programs, and is in certain instances certified and educated and has passed the test to get into some of these programs. But otherwise, you could start by looking for yourself and getting a little bit of education about like where you want to move. Because maybe you are thinking about Garden Grove, which isn't Los Angeles right away, right? I mean, there's like, it's a megalopolis and we know that, but there's so many individual cities within Los Angeles and Orange County. So like Santa Ana is Orange County. I forgot, is Garden Grove LA or Orange? It's right in the middle.
I think that's still Orange County.
Orange County, I think so too. Yeah.
But San Diego has a ton of programs. I mean, anywhere. There's lots of programs I've seen for Nevada. I mean, there's just a ton of different places that you can look at here and find ways to get more money to help you on your down payment.
And I think that that's the best news of all is that there's hope out there. So just when you think, oh, I'm going to have to wait it out for another 2 years. No. And here's the thing. We always get this question. When is a good time to buy? The best time to buy is when you can afford to buy. Like, buy now. Get in. Like, even if you think I got to wait, talk to a lender, just see, because maybe you do need a little bit of time to get your credit aligned. Maybe you do need like a couple more months at a new job or something.
Right.
So there may be legitimate reasons why you couldn't jump in the market. But I think if you tell yourself that it's a no before you even really find out the information, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can afford the payment now, but you don't love the payment, look 3 steps ahead, right? Where's the market going to go? History repeats itself. Rates go up and then they come down.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So all you're doing is going to lower your interest rate and payment on what you bought. So yes, you might not love the payment now, but you're in a home that you can afford. You just don't like it. That's going to change at some point.
That's right.
History has told us. And if you look at every graph since the 1970s of rates going up, you see where it topples and how long the recession lasts. And it's just a matter of acknowledging that we're in a recession. That's all this is.
That's all it is.
One bank starts to make a change, and guess what? They all follow suit, right? It's kind of the same thing of like, would you follow your friend off a bridge? Would you jump off the bridge, right? If everybody's doing it, are you going to do it too?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening is when one starts to make that change, they all start to take a step back and go, maybe we should be doing it too. And then it's a collective change.
And I also think it might be jumping off a bridge, but knowing that you've got a parachute.
Right.
So jumping off the bridge, but you got a parachute. We're all going to be okay. And the thing that I think people don't take into consideration is you're also building equity.
Right.
When you lease something, you it's like money just thrown away. But when you actually are an owner, you build equity, and then that equity you can leverage into a new place.
Right.
And you get tax incentive. You get tax breaks for owning, where you can't write that off on a lease, So there's a lot of advantages to owning a home, and as quickly as you can own one, do it.
Yeah, not to mention, there's less competition, right? So if you look at all the data going on, mortgage applications in the last year and a half, they're down.
They're down.
Right? Compared to where they had been. That's a sign of all the rate hikes, right?
I mean, I don't love the rate hikes, but what I love is right now, like, whereas I was writing an offer and there's 20 offers or 30 offers, there's like 2 or 3 or 4 solid ones. And that is great. Like that's
a market correction.
That's
right
a market correction right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
110%.
less competition, Jamie. And that's huge for buyers because if they can afford it with that less competition, wouldn't you rather be in now knowing you're going to fix that payment and not have to try to dogfight against 30 other people for that same property, say 6 months from now, where the values are going to go up because you've got people outbidding, like what you talked about, $600,000 over. Right? We don't want to be in that situation again. It's going to be controlled. But at the same time, if you can be ahead of that and not be waiting like all these other people think is the right move by waiting when the rates drop, you're doing yourself a favor by doing it now.
That's exactly right. So I think that's a huge point. Not being on the sidelines, maybe paying a smidge interest higher, but there's less competition. So it's less of a bite to go, oh, I'll just pay $300,000 over asking and take away all my rights to negotiate, for repairs or anything just to get in. Whereas, okay, I'm going to pay a little bit more now, but I'm only dealing with 3 or 4 offers and I can refinance as soon as they drop.
Yeah. And that's why those buy downs exist. That's why we have interest only loans. That's why we look at loans where you can break them up into a first loan and a second loan to take advantage of different loan limits and pricing breaks.
Absolutely.
And we're looking at manipulating payment. It's not about the rate right now. We know where the rates are. We know that they're higher than what people are used to seeing, but historically they're right in line. Right. So the trick is what can we show them to make the payments themselves make sense? That's the creativity behind everything that we're doing right now.
And I think you have to wrap your head around not being so interest focused.
Right.
Because you can buy down the rate, you have creative programs, you have to let go of the idea, oh, it's this interest rate and therefore it's a no. It's like, no, let the interest rate go. What payment are you wanting to focus on?
Right.
Because we have clients in common that, that they can afford more, but they want their payments to be at a certain threshold. And we can make that happen with whatever interest rate. It just depends on what their needs are. So again, that needs analysis and that educating them along the way and through the process makes a huge difference.
Right. And they're either going to believe it and see it and understand it, or they're going to be nervous and standoffish and not want to do it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's the people who have been through this before that they understand the cycles, they get the game. And the first time buyers that are limited and concerned on their budgeting and not understanding what it means to be a homeowner and all the additional expenses
Get
that
a
we
great
don't
realtor.
even right. Get a great realtor.
That'll guide you through it.
That's where the difference is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Michael, as always, you are amazing with information. And I'm so glad that at least, you know, in my world, I can lean on you to know that you've got the latest programs out there that are really going to help anybody. I mean, even the second, third time buyer, like there's stuff out there to help anybody.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. I kind of geek out with this stuff. I know it's kind of silly, but I love it because there's so many things out there that people just don't know about.
Yeah. That's very, very true. So I know where I can reach this guy because I reach him all the time. But why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers where people can reach you?
Sure. So I can be reached on my cell phone at 310-995-0975, or feel free to email me at michael.abram@ccm.com.
Fantastic. Cross Country Mortgage will get you there and will be your friend.
Absolutely.
And we do say, you know, even though I love this guy, do shop lenders, like be educated. Like every lender, every brokerage has different banks that they use. So we never, as real estate agents or brokers, can force you to use a lender. We just know from experience the ones who can get the job done. And for us, that makes a difference as to why we would recommend somebody. But, you know, there's a reason, like I know it used to be like, I don't know, those online mortgage companies, like where they'd go, we can get you 3%. And then, you know, my buyers were like, oh, that's awesome. Like we can, you know, your guy's for something and I'm going to go this route. And then they quickly find out they didn't do any due diligence. The loan is in Ohio, so you can't reach them 3 hours later. They won't return the call. And every time you talk to somebody, it's somebody different.
Yeah.
So it really does make a difference to have somebody that's working locally and with your...
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
That's what it is, right?
110%.
Just like any business, anything that you're doing.
That's right.
You get what you pay for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for being a fantastic guest on the show. And just want to say thank you to all the guests who've hung in here with us. We love having you. Be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel at Real Estate of Mind. I recognize that there's a couple of Real Estate of Minds, but you know, look for this mug. This mug is the one that you want. And like and subscribe to us. And also, we are on Instagram, Facebook, Instagram. We are at My City of Angels, mycityofangels.com. And we're at OC and Me. The beauty of my company is over COVID, I expanded to Orange County. So not only do we service LA, but now we service Orange County. Our team is growing. We love what we do. We focus on beach cities, but obviously I have past clients that will, you know, send me wherever. And we always take care of our past clients. We love them and we love any referrals. We're also on Facebook, thecityofangels.com and OC and Me. So please check us out. And we'd love to have organic likes and subscribes. And if there's anything that is really of interest that maybe we haven't covered yet, please let us know, because without you, there is no us. So we'll see you next time.